Welcome back, Malacañang Press Corps. Joining us also here today is Department of Tourism's Secretary, Christina Frasco, to give us details about the recent oil spill in Oriental Mindoro and other issues discussed during the sectoral meeting today. Good afternoon, Secretary Frasco.
Good afternoon, mayong hapon sa tumakigsoonang Pilipino.
Go ahead.
As I am aware, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, as well as the Department of Health, have recently issued a joint statement concerning the water quality test results in Puerto Galera, showing that there were 35 sample sites, 9 of which passed the water quality test in accordance with the ENR guidelines. We welcome this positively, especially considering that the 9 sites identified, several of these are actually very prime dive sites for Puerto Galera, one of which I dove in recently, specifically in La Laguna. With regard to the other areas that were not seen to have complied with the threshold set in the water quality test results under the ENR guidelines, we are also pleased to receive the Department of Health's position that the public is advised to proceed with caution, but that no swimming ban has been indicated, only that concerns have been expressed on the ingestion of water. And therefore, our perception of this joint statement is that the Puerto Galera tourism continues to be open, as well as that there has been no direct attribution in terms of the direct source of the findings, considering the presence of other human and economic activities in Puerto Galera. But with that, the Department of Tourism expresses its full support to the ENR and the DOH in terms of our willingness to work together, as well as together with the provincial government of Oriental Mindoro and the local government units involved, so that we can proceed in a manner that will ensure the sustainability of these tourism destinations. Puerto Galera in particular is the top-rated destination for Oriental Mindoro, contributing no less than 85% of the tourism economy of the province. At its peak, Puerto Galera generated tourism receipts of over 1.2 billion pesos, notwithstanding the fact that the Philippines only reopened in February of last year. Puerto Galera had already raked in 500 million pesos. And we fully perceive that the recovery of Puerto Galera, especially in terms of domestic tourism, is well on the way this year. As far as international tourism is concerned, we want to be able to make sure that the viability of Puerto Galera as a tourism destination continues. And that is why the report indicating that no direct link to the oil spill is something that we welcome positively.
Okay, are there any questions? Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
Secretary, so you don't see the oil spill affecting the tourism in Puerto Galera, not even mildly, or no impact at all?
First of all, the Department of Tourism has expressed and continues to express its grave concern over the occurrence of the oil spill that has devastated many areas in Puerto Galera, in Oriental Mindoro rather. On the other hand, we receive positively the data that would show that there is at present no evidence of the oil spill in Puerto Galera. Nonetheless, and that being said, the impact of the oil spill to the province in general, according to statistics from the Provincial Tourism Office, is no less than a little over 900 million pesos. That we perceive with great concern, especially if you add to that any losses that may incur to Puerto Galera should there be any perceptions of the oil spill having reached Puerto Galera. And that is why I think the most important thing right now as far as tourism is concerned is to really ensure the continued viability of Puerto Galera as a tourism destination, considering that no less than 11,000 tourism workers depend on the industry continuing to be open. Multiply that by at least 5 in terms of their families, and that is thousands upon thousands of people that depend on tourism. According to statistics as well, should Puerto Galera be closed to tourism, there is a projected loss of no less than at least 5.3 million pesos a day. So our effort really in the Department of Tourism is to work very closely with the DENR, the DOH, and other related agencies, including the DILG, so that we can work hand in hand with the local government unit of Puerto Galera in particular and the province in general. So we've all seen the devastation that can be caused by a tourism destination being shut down. We experienced that recently in the pandemic, and we experienced that recently in Cebu during the Super Typhoon Odette. So what is critical really right now is the protection not just of life, but also of the livelihood of the tourism workers that critically depend on the continuation of the tourism industry.
Thank you, Sec.
Okay, Eden Santos, Net 25.
Good afternoon po, Secretary. Nabanggit po ninyo na medyo malaki yung mawawala sa turismo kapag ipinaban natin yung mga water activities sa Puerto Galera, despite the fact na siyam lang po yung pumasa out of the 35. Does it mean po ba na mas binibigyan natin ng way yung livelihood than dun sa lives ng ating mga kababayan, na sa halip na i-prevent muna natin yung mga water activities doon para naman maging safe din po yung mga tao, even yung mga local, yung mga turista, sa halip na tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung activities doon?
Needless to say, the protection of life is always the prevailing consideration of any God-fearing person, as it is of the Marcos administration. But at the same time, the lessons that we've learned from the COVID-19 pandemic and the various calamities that have befallen our country is that there has to be a balance between the protection of life and the protection of livelihood, because the complete and utter devastation of livelihood can also lead to a loss of life. Kaya naman po, damang-dama po natin yung paghihirap ng ating mga tourism workers, especially po yung mga nandoon sa oil spill affected areas. And that is why, understanding the suffering that they are presently harboring under, pumunta po tayo sa Puerto Galera at under the directive po ng ating presidente, nag-offer po tayo ng alternative livelihood training skills that may not be necessarily connected to their present occupation, but is still connected to the tourism industry. And with that, we met with several mayors as well as community-based tourism organizations. Magsisimula na po yung alternative livelihood trainings on April 24, and it will continue until May. In conjunction with this, kasi po concerned yung ating presidente sa kapakanan ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino, especially our tourism frontline workers, we have also agreed with the Department of Labor and Employment na yung mabibigyan ng alternative training, on one hand, bibigyan po sila ng free na starter kit para sa trainings na matatanggap nila. And on the other hand, mabibigyan po sila ng tupad, financial assistance. And therefore, it is an overall approach towards managing the present tourism destination that is not yet affected by the oil spill, as well as assisting the tourism destinations that are already affected by the oil spill, all the while prioritizing life and balancing that with the need to protect livelihood.
So, Secretary, so far po wala pa naman tayong naitatalang anumang mga complaint na yung mga nag-swimming doon or nagpunta, lalo nung bakasyon ay nakaranas or nakakaramdam ng mga problema sa balat, sa paghinga gaya ng mga sinasabi ng DOH na posibleng maranasan natin kapag tayo ay nakainom ng contaminated na tubig mula sa langis.
The Department of Tourism is not in possession of any data regarding any such information, considering that is not within our primary mandate. Nevertheless, nag-diving po ako doon sa Laguna, isa po sa pinakamaganda na dive site sa Puerto Galera, at okay pa naman po ako. Yes.
That's good to know. Okay, Ivan Mayrina, GMA7.
Secretary, good afternoon. You spoke of recovery of domestic tourism in Puerto Galera. At its peak, you said umaabot ng 1.2 billion pesos ang tourism receipts ng Puerto Galera. Nasaan na ho tayo doon sa recovery natin na yun? Especially, you personally saw the Holy Week crowd. Would you say that we are almost at pre-pandemic levels or maybe even on the way to surpass those numbers?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, as that will allow me to deliver the good news that as of 2022, Puerto Galera has already generated ₱500 million in tourism receipts as far as international arrivals are concerned. On the other hand, with regard to domestic tourism, Puerto Galera plus our other regional destinations have reported in excess of their targets in terms of the projected arrivals for domestic tourists. And this fully supports the projections of the Department of Tourism that the country will recover its domestic tourism numbers 100% this year. And that means no less than 122 million domestic trips that will be taken by our fellow Filipinos and visiting foreigners living in the Philippines this year.
Thank you.
That's great news. Wow. Any other question? Okay, is there anything else that you wanted to add, Secretary?
Well, I wanted to thank our President for continuing to articulate the importance of the tourism industry under his administration, recognizing the massive contribution that it has had and continues to have upon our economy. I would also like to take this opportunity, if you will allow, to invite our fellow Filipinos to book your trip to your local destination, especially with the forthcoming long weekend, considering that any touristic activity that you do within any of our local destinations will ultimately help a Filipino family. Tulungan po natin yung ating mga kababayan sa turismo sa pamamagitan po ng pag-book ng ating mga vacations kasama sa ating mga pamilya anywhere across the Philippines. Maraming salamat po. Daghan kayong salamat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Christina Frasco of the Department of Tourism. Thank you for being here. Okay.
Salamat.
Ano niyo pong